There we go. Okay, and we are recording now. And ladies and gentlemen, we are live. I think it's the third time. And wait a minute, let me make sure we've got this. This is a podcast for women, but there are gentlemen that view it too, I realize. So thank you very much for joining us. Now, to begin with, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Please remember, whether you're on with us here live or you're catching the replay later on today or some other time, like, comment, and share. And please share it, because there may be others who can benefit from the information we're about to share with you today. And hi there, I'm Evelyn Cosme, a leadership strategist for your life and work, the CEO of Evelyn Cosme International and the creator of The Power of V, a method for the development and empowerment of high achieving women. And I'm passionate about guiding and teaching women how to improve the quality of their lives through self-mastery, leadership strategies with a focus to achieve a life and work that's value-driven and for purpose. Now, welcome to Extraordinary Women of Guts and Grace, a podcast about compassionate, courageous leadership. And my intention is to honor, celebrate, and highlight the work of women in their industries. I also want to inspire other women to take on a leading position, first in their lives, and then for those they choose to lead, and the next generation of leaders. And today, our topic is so important: the housing affordability issues and solutions in Central Florida. Now, my guest today is very special and close to my heart. It's someone that I've worked with before. We were both on the front lines with domestic abuse. And she was someone I always admired, and I could always see everything she was then that was amazing. And now I'm so proud of her, because now Abigail Lemay is the executive director of Rebuilding Together of America. Hello, Abby. Thank you so much for being here. And I appreciate your patience and the audience with today's technology issues. Please greet the audience before I share your bio.
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Abby Lemay, Executive Director at Rebuilding Together of Central Florida. Evelyn, thank you so much for the amazing introduction. It's always interesting to hear what other folks think of you. And
Absolutely.
it's so fun because when we last worked together, I didn't think those things of myself at the time. And it's just funny how we as women grow and lead and take on new challenges and push ourselves to become all that we can. So
And
thanks for
you
me.
definitely have. You have excelled. And I always thought you had the executive blood in you. And I'm so glad that you are directing an organization, because I know of the quality of your work ethics, and you're just an amazing human being. And I'm sure, I know that they're very lucky to have you directing that organization. Now, to share with you a little bit about Abby, and then we're going to talk a lot more. One of the reasons I wanted to bring Abby on is because she's a young executive, and I want to inspire young people, young adults, to be inspired to become leaders, and to understand that leadership and taking that role on is not an easy thing. It doesn't mean there aren't bumps in the road, there aren't boulders to cross over, or even mountains, to scale. But Abby is a person of great integrity, of great drive, and I respect her work so very much. Abby Lemay is a housing advocate with 10 years of experience working in organizations that address quality of life for our neighbors in Central Florida. Abby serves as the executive director of Rebuilding Together of Central Florida, a nonprofit that provides free, critical home repair and modification, an alumni of the University of Central Florida's Master of Nonprofit Management program. Abby also holds a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from Stetson University, originally from Rhode Island. Abby has called Central Florida home since 2007. Now, Abby, I have a lot of questions and I hope to get through to them today. And if not, we'll make sure to bring you on, especially when you have any important projects that you'd like to discuss. So, Abby, you know that I've worked a lot with children, adolescents, young adults. I've been a mentor for young adults for many years. But I've specialized and my expertise is in women issues, but I understand very clearly the importance of childhood and the impact it has on the choices you make for your career later on in life. So my first question always is, what did you want to be when you grew up? What was it that little Abby played at? And did it translate in any way who you've become and what you're doing as your life's work?
That's such a fun question. And I did not grow up to be what I thought I would become. I thought that even as a child that I wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to,
Oh.
which probably says something about my childhood, but I love fighting for justice and for trying to make the world a little bit of a better place wherever I can. So I think that is my calling, not the law part. It turns out I don't really like to argue. I love research and all of that, but I feel like there are just so many different ways that individuals and that me specifically could give back to the community and work towards a more just, equitable society for women and children and for everyone. So that's that's what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I certainly don't still want to be an attorney. I love what I do as an executive director, and it's not something I thought I would be doing at in my early 30s, but it is amazing, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity.
And I'm so glad because watching you and spending time with you when we worked before together, I could see your passion, your dedication, and you're definitely great at research for sure. But any organization would be so blessed to have you because your skill set is amazing. You're direct, you're a no nonsense kind of gal, which I love, and you get things done because we can dream all we want to dream about changing the world, but it's about envisioning that and getting it done. And that's what a leader does. And that's what a leader does in moving their people to action and involving others in the community, which you do really well. Now, how does your work relate to your personal mission? And I think you answered that sort of. So is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah. So I've worked in a few different nonprofit settings in Central Florida, but almost all of it has been related to housing in some way. When we worked together, we worked with survivors of domestic abuse, but everything else has been housing. So in some way, my work has always been connected to stability and having a safe and healthy roof over your head. And I'd say that I didn't start out intending to work in housing. That wasn't my dream at first. I guess I didn't really have a specific area that called to me when I first started working. But it's something I've thought a lot about, and my personal drive and connection to this work is it wasn't until I found my safe and healthy home as an adult where I could be comfortable, where I didn't have to ever worry about things that you worry about when you can't afford other things,
Right.
so The quality of the housing, it got better for me as I got older and as I built my career in Central Florida. So when I finally got to that place, for me, I feel like that's when my life outside of work, outside of everything, that all my pieces started falling together. And that's when things sort of bloomed for me. So I think that housing is such a core, important piece of who we are. And it really has everything to do with our opportunities, with our choices, and with the people that we are in this world.
And I agree with you. Housing is so important and survival. And if we go to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we're
Yes.
talking about precisely that. You can't self-actualize and think about subliminal things if you're wondering where you're going to sleep, eat, and if you're safe, and it's so important. And I've worked a lot with the homeless as well and in transitional housing, and it is a huge piece. And because I work so much with women and single parents without housing, from living from paycheck to paycheck, for instance, and even though they were working, they could be professionals, they could be working at any type of job within the community, but it was so easy for women, particularly with children or single women who don't have the support of family or parents, etc., for whatever reasons. It's a very hard thing. And having to choose, do I buy food? Do I improve my housing if I do own a house? And so on and so forth. And we'll be talking more about that when it comes to your work. Now, I did want to, being a leader, and I've worked in nonprofit a lot, and I have many more moons than you do that, behind me. But for your career growth and becoming a nonprofit leader, talk about that journey. What did it look like? What did you have to do? Did you have to make sacrifices? I mean, you also completed a master's degree, which we know entails a lot of work. So just share with the audience about that.
Sure. So I finished college and moved to Orlando to start my nonprofit career in 2011. I actually started working with the homeless in a rapid rehousing program in 2011, and that was a really incredible experience. It's not something that I saw myself doing initially, but I saw an opportunity to help someone and learn something along the way. So I started working as a case manager. So my background in nonprofit management has a really broad and I think fun collection of experiences. Um, I'm the type of person that likes to try a little bit of everything. So I get involved with committees at work. I'd like to, get involved outside and, volunteer or join, professional groups. So getting started as a leader, it's funny because I didn't really think of myself as a leader when I started in nonprofit, because you don't when you're, just starting out and 22 and, you feel a little intimidating and you're not really sure where to start. So I started to just sort of fall into things. I started to try new groups and try new jobs. I've worked at a few different nonprofits around Central Florida. But for me, I think one of the things that helps the most outside of going to grad school, because that certainly helps leadership development, but it's really just connecting with everyone in my workplace and trying to learn more about what they do and why they do it. And I like to know it all, which is
What a leader should do.
I like to know a little bit of everything. And my personal philosophy is, if I'm the leader, I should be able to do what everybody else does if I have to jump in. I don't know that I'll be great at it, but I should know how to do it, because that helps me understand when they come to me with challenges. I want to be able to help them and not dictate to them.
Of course,
So
absolutely.
leadership for me has been the best piece of leadership development for me was just getting very involved in my workplace, finding mentors, finding people who would talk to me about their work, and to encourage me to try new things.
And I think that is the role of a true leader. And there's that question: is a person born a leader, or do they develop? We could go on and on about that, but you definitely have become an amazing leader. And I saw you even then when we worked together, and I always felt that was your path, and saw you in that role because of the fact that you were interested in others. And leadership is about relationships. It's about that commitment of understanding the people that you work with, and the dynamics that can transpire within an organization, and how to deal with damage control, because we all have to do that, and put out fires, and deal with all of the personalities that we can find in the workplace. And then we add that all the other stakeholders that come into play, whether it's service providers, clients, etc. And it is a huge job to undertake, for sure. But having vision, and the relationship skills that you have made you, I know, a very amazing executive. You're very down to earth, and you are able to see beyond the difficulties that can arise in the workplace, and find solutions, which is another key characteristic of a great leader. Now, what does a small nonprofit executive director do? Talk to us about a day for Abby. What does it look like?
Let me tell you about my day to day, because I think this is a good snapshot of what things look like. So I wake up and I stretch. That is the most important part of my day. Eat a healthy breakfast, and get myself started. Maybe listen to a podcast or two to get my brain moving, because it takes a little while.
Yes.
But my workday started today at about 7:45, catching up on some email and just trying to figure out what the priorities are, because they shift like that. You can have a plan for the day, and within 30 seconds of starting it, things are different, but it's part of the fun. So by 8:30, I had a meeting with my board chair. By 9 o'clock, I had another meeting to catch up with someone I actually used to work with as well. Pick her brain a little bit about some things that I think she mentors me on.
Good.
I talked to my staff. I created a presentation and then delivered a presentation to a fund this morning. Made a few phone calls, and then tried to find the link to join you on time. And I just could not find it. And then I've got a 2 o'clock, a 2:30, a 3 o'clock, and then I have my board and some volunteers coming out to our office this afternoon, because we got an incredible donation of office furniture. So we got desks and a couch and all of the things that we've been looking for a long time. So we're having an office organization party. So I will not say that the 12-hour day is totally normal for me, but it's also not abnormal either when you run a small nonprofit, because you are a little bit of everything.
Of course, yes, and we know about that. And what needs to be done gets done. If someone's out, we'll jump in and take over and do what needs to be. And then all of our paperwork and any planning and prepping for the next day has to wait till the end of the day or very early in the morning. And so that's how we live. Yes. Now, you mentioned something really important, and you said that you stretch. And of course, you're trying to eat healthy and whatnot. And I want to speak to that, because self-care, being a leader, and even in your life, just leading your own life, but being a leader does require a lot of energy, a lot of brain juice, there's a lot of stress, and we know how stress can affect your immune system. And then if your immune system is affected, your sleep patterns can be affected, your eating habits, etc. And so resting becomes very important. And sometimes there's only a few hours to rest at the end of the day for a leader. Um, Talk to me about first your transforming your physical and mental health through self-care, because I know that you and I both believe so much in that, and you have gone through an amazing transformation, young lady.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a really important question about self-care. And sometimes when I talk about self-care, I feel like a little bit of a hypocrite because some days I don't practice it as well as I should. But self-care is a journey. It really, really is. And the time when we work together, I think the last time I saw you, I was um, probably 25. So seven years ago, I smoked a pack of cigarettes a day,
Mhm.
and I weighed 80 pounds more than I do today. And that is a journey, let me tell you.
I
um,
remember. We talked about it.
yes, we did. um, For me, becoming a nonprofit executive director, I don't know for my personal journey that it would have been possible for me to do this if I had continued on the health track that I was on.
Mhm.
Uh, because, family history and genetics aside, there are a lot of things that we can control and prevent. And there were a lot of things that I wasn't ready to hear when I was younger, and I didn't prioritize because you have other priorities. We all do. And there's a degree of health sometimes when we're
Mhm.
living unhealthy lives or in unhealthy relationships or whatever form those might come in, where you're not ready to see it. The harm that you're really doing to yourself. At least that was my experience. So I had a lot of wake up calls in my 20s and a couple of scares that made me realize, life is short and you only get one whack at it. So
Mhm.
might as well give it hell. So that's kind of been my mantra for a while now. I started losing weight a few years ago just by making small steps. I had never exercised or really like been an active person. But I started hiking. I started doing yoga. I hated both of them immensely when I started, but now I can't picture my life without them.
Oh, wow. Good.
So it was a little bit of a journey for me. But in that process, I learned a lot about myself. It made me a stronger leader. It made me a stronger and better employee. I think it makes me a better friend, family member, and overall person, I think, in this process of health and learning and growth. And today I wake up every morning and start my day with green tea as well. But I'm a matcha girl. I don't do green tea lemon like you were talking about earlier. Um, and I just try to find some balance. It's hard. It's really, really hard when you have a 10-hour day or a 12-hour day, and I don't have children to balance on top of that. So my kudos to the amazing moms
Hard.
out there who are doing this type of work and raising families on top of everything because, oh my goodness, there's not enough hours in the day.
I think, and I appreciate that, because I am a single parent, and my son's now 30 and he's in the military. But during those years, it was very difficult trying to save the world. And, with the different organizations that I've worked with, from HIV to the homeless, and all sorts of other populations. But I think that was my drive, was trying to show him the importance of doing work in the community and serving others and helping others. and he's protecting our country now. So he's in that mode, which I'm very proud of him, and as a parent very scared as well, but I can only hope for the best, and that he's well and safe, and everyone he works with. Now, people tend to think that because we're single, I remember before having my son that I had all this time on my hands and I didn't have any other responsibilities, but that's not the case, really. I mean, you can spend a little bit more time on yourself, maybe practicing yoga and doing other things. But as you get older, and you spoke with so much wisdom, you were always mature when I met you, and now I just see this amazing young beautiful woman who has gained so much self-knowledge, and self-knowledge and self-mastery is key in leadership, because it is the way that you're able to understand the human dynamics that occur in the organization and in your own life, to manage them, and mastering your emotions and making the right decision, even though we don't want to. No, we don't want to get up and do that yoga early in the morning or do this or that. I woke up at 4:44 this morning, and I'm like, oh, why am I waking up at 4:44? But I did something positive, you know. But people who are single, and I'm speaking a lot to young people, even older adults who are single, your time is precious and valuable too. And you may have pets, which is a great responsibility. You may have elderly parents or family members or caregivers that are now aging, and you have to take time out to spend with them, or give them a quick call to check on them, or take someone to a doctor's appointment, or friends, because that's what life is about. It's all those relationships. And then again, the calls from work throughout your day, even if you're off, which I'm sure you get sometimes as well. So, we're sometimes in 24/7 mode, but we do have to try and find balance. And that is key in being a good leader. Now, what motivated you? Mentioned already what motivated you to make these big changes. You had insight, and you became aware and acknowledged the different challenges you were having and where your life was heading towards. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that about what motivated these changes?
It was mostly that. I'll say it really was about deciding on the future that I wanted for myself. We talked, I think you mentioned something a little bit earlier about how sometimes people, we dream and we think about all of the things that we want to do, but you have to do them if you are going to really live. And if you're going to be a leader, you have to just do the scary thing. You just have to look it in the eye and go, whatever, I'm just going to move forward and I'm going to try it anyway. And the worst thing that's going to happen is I don't like it or I fail. And both of those things are fine.
and
You know,
and and you're giving yourself space to like you mentioned before, sometimes you're not consistent with your practices, and so but you really stay motivated. And I think a lot of people don't realize that we have to learn two skills and apply them almost daily, and it's sustaining a sense of wellness for as long as we can throughout the day. And when it breaks down for whatever reason, you're triggered by something, whether it's your cellular memory or in any way, or you're facing challenges that you need to address, you try to sustain that sense of wellness, maybe of joy, of openness to the dynamics of the day. But it's also about learning to renew. You have to learn to use some techniques, some strategies that will get you back on track. What are the ones that you feel do that for you?
meditation. And I can remember the first time I tried to meditate. Honestly, I think it was in a staff meeting that you were probably in, uh, a guided like group sort of deal. And I think I mentioned really hating hiking and yoga in the beginning. Well, I really, really hated meditation in the beginning because it was so quiet and I didn't understand the point. And I'm like, how could you possibly think about nothing? Like, but for me, finding that balance came down to understanding how to meditate and breathe. And that is a really tough one. For some people, I think it might come a little easier, but for me, it took me a long time to learn how to meditate. But now that I'm there, it's really, really helped my stress management. And then I'd say the other thing is that meditation gives you a perspective on how stressful that situation might be if you take a step back and look at it after a couple
Mhm.
of months, you know? Um, yeah, and I'd say it's definitely pausing and thinking things through. It's taking moments throughout the day to take a break. At the moments where it feels like you should take the break the least, I have found is sometimes when I need it the most,
Mhm.
because there are just too many things going on. So giving yourself room and permission to breathe and permission to be off is okay, and is really important and healthy, and is hard. It is so, so hard, but we have to do it.
And I think a lot of people doubt the benefits of meditation and don't realize it really has a lot to do with your breathing and knowing how to breathe and it stops you to like you said reflect, which is a really important thing to do. And there's so much scientific information research to back up the use of meditation. So meditation may not be for some of the members of our audience, but find something that does work for you. And that when you have to learn to renew that sense of wellness throughout your day, the week, the months, the years, that you can do that almost automatically. You can stop, take that break that you need. Step back is so important. Just sometimes stepping back, sitting back in your chair in a meeting can shift your energy. And you'll breathe different. Drinking water as well also helps, and it's been proven scientifically in moments. That's why they always say, would you like a glass of water when people are upset or anxious? It is important to drink your water, and hopefully it's clean water. Anyway, and that's a topic for another day. Now, now we're going to switch gears a little bit, and I always love to talk about my guests and their journeys, and we'll be incorporating more of that in the next few questions. But talking about the work that you do now we know, Abby, we understand a little bit more about what it is to be an executive director, a young one at that, and the journey you've had on a personal note with your wellness and taking the reins of your own life, which is so important. What are some of the big issues in Central Florida when it comes to housing that you're working with?
Well, there are quite a few, and it really depends on who you ask. So when it comes to housing, there are folks who are having trouble maintaining the housing that they're already living in and come to organizations like mine. So Rebuilding Together repairs homes for folks who are struggling with health and safety issues in their home. They own the home. In most cases, they've lived there for years, sometimes generations even, and have run into an issue with roof replacement or something else major that they just cannot afford this time. And other means to get it fixed aren't available to them because income's limited. And we all know what the pandemic did to so many people last
Yes.
year and continues to do. But then you have this totally other end of housing where you have folks who don't have any. And then so you have homelessness, and then you have the folks who are precariously housed or living between homes, doubled up in overcrowded situations. You have family members who own homes that are in not so great conditions, but the home that is run down and unhealthy, is that better than no home at all to offer to a family member in need? So there's a really broad range of housing issues, and a lot of reasons that play into that, and we can certainly talk about those. But there's a lot of work to be done in housing, and there's a lot of resources and people working together to start to make an impact. I mean, they have been making an impact here for a long time, and are continuing to do so.
And as an executive director, what would you say are the challenges that you face daily with the work that you're doing and your organization in order to meet some of those needs in the community?
So the first one is always going to be fundraising. As a nonprofit, the biggest thing that is a barrier to us being able to solve part of the issue is the resources and the money behind it. Because for anybody who's listening or watching who owns a home and has ever had to pay for a home repair like HVAC replacement, roof, or anything, you know that it's expensive, and you know what it can do to your family's income for the coming month or 6 months or year if disaster strikes and your insurance company doesn't cover it. So there is just such a range of issues there. Evelyn, my brain has wandered a little bit. Go remind me again. Question. All right, this happens when you're an executive.
Hey, it's lunchtime.
I remember now. So
the challenges that you face in your organization as an executive director.
So then the other piece, and it's tied to it, is the awareness of the problem at all, right? So you see in Central Florida, homelessness on every street corner.
Yes.
Is pervasive, and it is awful, and it impacts people from all walks of life. But then you have organizations like mine who are in the business of trying to keep people housed in the homes that they already have, because not only do we have homelessness issues, but we have a lack of housing, not just affordable housing, housing in general. We've been in the news a lot lately in Central Florida for, if you're selling your home, this is the time to do it, right? You can make a lot of money right now selling your home if it's in good condition, because prices are on the rise. There's such a demand because there's such a limited real estate market right now. There's very little room to develop, and there's little room with existing homes. So there's a lot of pressure put on homeowners right now. I'm sure homeowners who are listening can probably relate to getting solicitation letters from developers who want to purchase their home, probably for some pretty attractive prices, depending on the neighborhood you live in. It's a big challenge when you look at trying to keep people housed. It's like when you start to age and you have a choice of, do I maintain this home? Do I make sure I can give this to a family member, keep it in the home like it has been for generations, or do I try to go find somewhere else to live? Well, in Central Florida, I'm not sure where folks can go anymore. There are no affordable apartments. The wait list for senior affordable housing is several years long. And I think in Orange County, I don't know what is available in Seminole. There's just nowhere for folks to go if they can't afford to keep the roof that's already over their head. So as an executive director, you have this big challenge of people need to know that it's an issue, and we need to be able to mobilize the resources that can help. Because at the end of the day, a $10,000 home repair that replaces a roof, a $10,000 roof is so much less expensive for our community than the cost and the demand for services that person is going to have if they need assistance getting into housing, if they need any number of other types of assistance that stem from not having an affordable place to live anymore. So
And I think people don't realize that running a nonprofit doesn't mean that there's loads of money that the government's providing all the time, that there are grants, and there are some grants, and I know you're very good at writing grants and doing that sort of work, the research that's required for it and whatnot. Speak to the fact of all the elements that come into play for you to be able to get this mission done. I mean, who are the players and your staff? What type of staff do you have, and volunteers perhaps, etc.?
yeah, great question. Thank you. Thank you for asking. So Rebuilding Together actually has affiliates all over the country. So there's over 120 of us,
Oh, okay.
39 states, and there's 6 of us in Florida. But
Oh,
yeah, so think of us as kind of like a chapter or
okay.
so
Mhm.
lots of organizations are structured like this. Um, and what we do is a mix of volunteer work with some things. So I tell people, if I can do it, a volunteer can do it. So I can't
Okay.
I can't replace a roof. No volunteer is replacing a roof, but a general contractor that we hire using our partnerships with government grants can do those things. So, so our structure is we have 2 full-time staff members, and I am one of them. We have
Oh.
we have 2 AmeriCorps members who are with us
Okay.
full-time, who are incredible and are definitely, if you're not familiar with the AmeriCorps
Uh,
National Service Programs, folks who are listening, it's a volunteer service position for a period of 10 and a half months to a year, depending on the service. And they're essentially a full-time volunteer who receives a stipend and some other really amazing benefits for their service to the community. So there's this team of 4 of us who do the daily operations, in addition to some really talented volunteers who help us professionally. We have an incredible board of directors. It's an 8-person team that helps me manage 5 committees of volunteers, of both
wow.
board and community members. And then our repair work is done, like I said, a mix of volunteers and contractors. But since COVID started, we haven't had a big volunteer group out in over a year. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so that was a whole we could talk an hour about
Yes.
COVID adaptability and pivoting, and
Mhm.
your entire operation model relied on volunteers, and then you can't work with them anymore. It was very challenging last year, um, but today, we have a really great team, both staff, board, and volunteers, and partners from the community. And we're always looking for more folks who can help. Partners from the community who are contractors, who are companies that can help sponsor and support, who are, or individuals who are just handy and maybe have a lot of construction skills, but aren't professionals. Those folks help us a lot too.
That's wonderful. Now, how can people connect with the organization to volunteer? Because apparently that's very needed, and donations, of course. So that goes
Yeah.
hand in hand.
So we're actually doing an open house next week. So I'd say if you're somebody who's interested in volunteering, there is everything from like board and committee service to internships for folks who are maybe in school or getting out of school and want to work with a team that's really growing. I think it's really special to be at my organization right now. I'm very
I'm
biased,
sure.
very, very biased, but we're going a lot of growth and a lot of collaboration that I haven't always seen in organizations. So it's really special. So folks who want to volunteer, we have our website, www.rebuildingtogethercfl.org/volunteer. That's got a good breakdown of what opportunities we have available. I would just ask if you're interested in volunteering, please try to follow the prompts on the website. We don't have a volunteer coordinator, but we do have a board member filter through interest and get you connected with the right person. So I would say start with the website or join us for open house next week. If you're comfortable with in-person gatherings, it's going to be totally outside. I'm sorry, it will be 97 degrees that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm
It's
looking
an
for
informal event for sure.
to have
In
corn.
terms of the dress code.
Yeah, please dress comfortably. We're gonna have cornhole and Jenga, and I'm
Okay.
looking for fans, like everybody cool. But thank you for asking that.
Now, I realize that getting volunteers is not as easy maybe now because of what's transpired in the last year. Um, what type of activities does the organization do or that you organize so that people can join besides this event that's happening soon next
Yes,
week?
we're going to be doing, we're going to reopen our group volunteering in the fall. So there will be some opportunities for people who want to come out and paint and landscape with us. Those are the two activities that volunteers most frequently get to do. Because really it's our contractors and our construction professionals who are doing the health and safety related repairs. So there will be opportunities for the community to come out to things like that. And then we'll have a few events coming up. I can't talk about just yet, but that'll
Okay.
be coming very soon. There'll be some opportunities to come out and meet the team again if you can't join next week. But I would definitely be on the lookout if you follow us on social media for opportunities because they are definitely coming. But bear with me till the fall when it's a slightly better temperature
Oh,
outside,
yes.
just a little safer with
That makes sense to do
going.
that. Absolutely. Now, I'll be posting in the comments below the video, the information that you just mentioned about the event and also the website so that people can reach out as they'd like to. And for donations, what is the best route to go with that?
Um,
Contact you directly or how do you prefer that to be done?
Sure, the website is a great starting point too. But for for any type of like larger donation or partnership opportunity, you could reach out directly to me. My email, I can send that over to you, Evelyn. I think you might have it. It's Abby at Rebuilding Together
Right.
CFL. Yeah,
Okay.
I would love to talk with anybody who is potentially interested in partnering with us because there is so much work to do. We're doing, I talked a lot about roofs and things today, but we're going to be launching our Safe at Home program, which is all about accessibility modifications and aging in place.
Mm.
We're going to be doing a lot of community engagement work and launching an education initiative this summer where folks can actually connect directly with contractors and experts who can help give them that real world advice and education that I think is missing from our community.
That's wonderful. And what can people do? You have a background in sociology as well, besides the nonprofit management and leadership in that respect. What would you suggest for people to do to make their community a better place? What's within their possibilities without a degree in leadership, without a background in sociology or other fields where it would make facilitate that process?
Thank you for asking that question because I am a firm believer that we all can and all have the responsibility to
Hmm.
make our world a better place. And that it doesn't have to be some big grand gesture and you don't have to dedicate your entire life's work to nonprofit or a mission or a cause because that's my choice. I don't expect anybody else to make. Um, I think that you can start by asking your neighbor,
Uh-huh.
what do you
Oh,
need help with?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's a simple and direct response. I love that. Thank you.
Community. My philosophy, I have a few, but my philosophy to helping others is to ask what they need and ask my community what it wants, instead of assuming that I might know. Sometimes I might have an idea, but I almost always, through just talking with people, as a nonprofit leader, the original idea is great, but what if we did this and brought in other partners. So I would say just ask, look around and ask what your community needs and do what you can where you can.
Good, thank you. That's a great advice, and it's so easy to do. It's so especially if there are families and the elderly around. There's always something that can be done. Most definitely, single parents and just anyone can use some help now and then. Now, uh, tips and strategies, or what mindset works for you to be successful on a daily basis?
I love this question because um, when I was in elementary and middle school and we started getting into more difficult math problems, I had to kind of I'm terrible at math.
Me too.
So I had to just sort of adopt this idea and mantra, I don't have to understand it to do it. If it's something new, I just have to try it. So that has sort of carried through into my daily life, to keep me going and to keep me focused. And my success, I think, is sometimes comes from not overthinking the thing and just trying it,
Mhm.
doing it and getting it over with. And sometimes it turns out it really wasn't so bad at all. Most of the time, that's how it goes.
Yes.
Almost.
And not doing things out of fear, and the fear of failing, or not being good enough at it. We're not going to be perfect at everything, most definitely. Even as leaders, there are things that we need support with. I know in your case, you're great with your writing and researching and envisioning structure and how things are going to get done and putting that into action. What do you feel is the thing you would like to have more support with, if you were able to have more staff possibly, or volunteers that would help you with that?
Mm.
I know you like to do it all yourself, but hey.
No.
Or oversee it at least.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough question because there's a lot of organizational needs
Mhm.
that we have. What would I add and what kind of skill set would help?
For some support, additional support.
You know, honestly, I think the additional support is less about the specific role and just there being more voices and brains to collaborate with.
Okay.
Because that is one of the really big challenges as a small team.
Mhm.
When you're trying to spin around new ideas, it's really easy to go one of two ways. And it's either this idea is amazing and we are the best and the smartest we've ever been and it's the best idea we could possibly have, or you get into sort of a spiral of this idea is never going to work. So I like working with I love working with I have a guest, I guess. um,
Do you need to answer that? No.
he can wait.
Okay.
It'll be okay. Um, Sorry, I totally
Go
lost
ahead.
in
We're
red.
live. That's fine. It makes it real.
Yeah,
I'm surprised the dog hasn't barked to get out today.
yeah, seriously. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second.
Well, you were sharing the importance of having other people to bounce off ideas, and yeah.
More folks to talk to because my team of for is incredible. But I feel so bad sometimes pulling them from the work that they're doing
Yes.
that's so important and so time sensitive. But it's a balance because they have to be involved, you know.
Mhm.
They have all the skin in the game. They're the ones, you know, I have ideas and vision, but they're the ones who are going to make it the reality. So they need to be involved in it too. So just more voices.
So it's a very inclusive leadership style that you have, which is wonderful. And research shows that women, particularly who are in leadership, if they have someone who's mentoring them or coaching them, it helps for them to develop more confidence with the decision-making process and the vision, driving the vision home, etc. And you mentioned that you do speak to someone. You spoke today, I think it was at 9 o'clock with that mentor.
I have a few really amazing women that
That's great.
I talk to and I consider my mentors and have along the way. So some folks I've worked with for years and some are a little newer in my life, but all of them have the same thing in common, that they are really incredible women who have balanced careers and life and families and have just taken on the world and done it fearlessly. And
That's the only way to do it.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
That's wonderful. And I'm glad that you have that in your life. Now, we're coming to an end and we could talk so much more, but final words of wisdom for anyone that wants to venture into leadership.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Hey, man.
And take it day by day, and you know, manage your perspective, and be yourself. It's very challenging to be a leader if you are trying to be anyone but yourself. So
Mhm.
be yourself. Don't apologize for it. And I mean, if you've had a moment, that's okay. Like, but just be yourself and trust yourself and know that you're there as the leader for a reason. And
Absolutely. Mhm. Thank you
it's a
so much.
quality. Thank you so much, Evelyn. It was amazing to catch up with you. And
I
to
love seeing you again and hearing all the wonderful things that you're doing. And I'm so proud of you. And to see who you've become, and you already were who you are now. You were the one that needed to see it. I'm so glad you acknowledged it. You're working, you're doing amazing things. And I'll probably sign up to help paint. No roofing
oh
and no
man,
other stuff, but I can paint. That I can help with. So I'll catch up with you. And like I mentioned, we'll be posting your contact information below for anyone who's interested to donate time, resources, materials too. Do you also receive materials, I would imagine?
sometimes our storage is a little bit limited right now.
Okay.
But yeah, let's talk.
Okay, that would be great then. So thank you so much to my very special guest, truly an extraordinary woman of guts and grace, Abby Lemay, the Executive Director of Rebuilding Together of America. And as I always sign off, much self-love, much compassion with yourself and benevolence. You deserve it. I deserve it. Abby deserves it. And everyone around us deserves it too. Keep the peace. And thank you again for joining us. See you next Wednesday. Much love to all. Thank you, Abby. Take care.
Thank
Hope
you.
to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.